Gavinfuzzy Customs SBL 2. A staple in the pump action springer role since 2021. Consistent, reliable, and customizable. It was so good at its job, it got a sequel. The SBL 2. A blend of custom machined parts and 3D printed pieces creates an incredibly robust blaster. Designed for the competitive scene, but capable of fitting under almost any FPS cap with the right tuning. So, how well can it actually perform? Is it truly a competitive blaster? And does it have what it takes to replace its predecessor? Ahoy impression aside, in this video we'll be going over the long-awaited SBL 2 by Gavinfuzzy. This is a 3D printed pump action springer that has a quick takedown system that only requires the removal of 2 pins to split the blaster in half. What sets this blaster apart from most of the other pump action springers on the market is the sheer number of custom metal parts it has. If I counted it right, there is only 16 printed parts, 10 if you exclude the stock, foregrip, and iron sights. Unlike the SBL 1's hardware, the SBL 2's sear, plunger, and slide block are acetal by default. There are also 8 custom metal parts making up most of the blaster's core, which take up most of the prime weight when using the blaster, increasing the longevity of the printed parts. Before we continue, this is not a sponsored video. Almost everything in this video was paid for at full price, and I didn't get any special treatment to make this video. The files I received from D2 Maker were free to beta test, but I believe he'll be selling these on his Etsy page in the future. With that out of the way, let's go over this blaster from tip to butt. On the end of the barrel, we've got a Gavinfuzzy B-car with the printed shroud. While the shroud unfortunately covers up the fancy anodized metal, it helps keep dirt away from the bearings and is necessary to comply with Sydney Nerf's orange tip rules. The B-car was an additional purchase and was not included with the SBL 2 hardware kit. The barrel is the included 28cm barrel, which is pretty optimized for the plunger volume already. The keen-eyed viewers have probably already noticed that the shroud on this SBL 2 is not the standard one. This is the MPX upper and shroud by D2 Maker. The color separation was done with a bamboo AMS, so it won't peel or rub off like paint would. Instead of the standard foregrip included in the SBL 2 files, we have a Magpul MOE grip. There's nothing wrong with the standard foregrip, we just like the MOE grips and it fits the look of the blaster a little bit better. Moving back, we also have the MPX flared magwell by D2 to get the proper look of the MPX. It's got the Millennium logo from Blue Archive, as D2 designed these parts to replicate Yuka's MPX from the game. Unlike the SBL 1's paddle mag release that also created the trigger guard, the SBL 2 has a traditional button mag release. This release is ambidextrous, so both left and right-handed users can use it without issues. The magwell accepts both Talon and Katana geometry magazines, so it should be compatible with any standard half-length mags you've invested in. Just behind the magwell, we've got the metal plunger tube, which was an optional extra. The standard plunger tube is transparent acrylic like most other springers. On the top rail, we've got flip-up Magpul M-bus sights and a generic red dot on a printed riser. The red dot helps as a reference point while aiming, and the flip-ups are there to complete the look. On the metal piece at the back of the blaster, there are points on either side to attach QD swivels for a sling. This piece also has vertical Picatinny to attach Picatinny stocks to the blaster. This makes sourcing other stocks for this blaster a little difficult, as Picatinny stocks are still kind of uncommon in the firearm and airsoft world and can be hard to import depending on where you live. There is an included retractable stock in the base SBL 2 files, which also has a QD attachment point. We have D2's MPX stock on here to complete the look. I mentioned earlier that this blaster has a quick takedown system. Removing these 2 pins will split the blaster into 2 parts, allowing access to the plunger, pusher, and spring. This system makes spring swaps or lubing the O-rings much quicker than the SBL 1. To reassemble the blaster, just slide the 2 parts together again and reinsert the pins. The barrel is held in with a grub screw at the bottom of the shroud that screws into the metal front block. Make sure it's screwed in tight so your barrel doesn't fall out mid-game like it did for me. The top of the screw does have some padding, so it shouldn't mess up the finish of your barrel too much. While on the topic of assembly and disassembly, the printing process of the blaster was pretty straightforward. Everything is already oriented for printing and shouldn't require supports. The most difficult part to print is the lower. with the overhangs around the grip and trigger guard prone to failing. Even though it's possible to print the lower without supports, I recommend using them anyway just to get it to print reliably. Moving on to performance, using the red 215 FPS spring and worker HEs, it's hitting an average of 224 FPS with a high of 232 and a low of 219. Without the B-car, it's hitting an average of 235 with a high of 242 and a low of 232. The hardware also includes a purple 200 FPS spring, a yellow 180 FPS spring, and a green 150 FPS spring. Thanks to the quick takedown system, it wasn't a huge hassle to swap out all the springs for the chronograph testing. The purple spring was hitting an average of 206 FPS with a high of 209 and a low of 204. The yellow spring was hitting an average of 182 FPS with a high of 186 and a low of 179. And the green spring was hitting an average of 156 FPS with a high of 164 and a low of 142. So overall, at least in Australia, you can expect to be hitting a little bit harder than what the springs advertise. Even with the heaviest red spring, the prime weight is really light and the lower hitting springs feel like almost nothing. For the firing demo, I'll just be showcasing the red spring as that's what I'll be mostly using in my gameplay videos. Also, I'm too lazy to be outside filming for 3 hours picking up darts over and over again. The firing experience on the SBL2 is great. It somehow improves on the SBL1 Smooth Prime while also making it lighter and able to hit higher FPS. The barrel and plunger tube size also seem to be very optimized, so swapping to a longer barrel doesn't seem necessary. For reference, my SBL1 needs a 45cm barrel with a 225 spring just to hit around 230s, and it isn't as consistent or accurate as this. The SBL2 is able to get better performance consistently with half the barrel length and shorter overall profile. Whatever black magic Gavin used to design this blaster, I hope he continues to use in the future. The Gavinfuzzy B-Car is also unsurprisingly good on this blaster. It does have some of the downsides common among B-Cars, such as working best with fresher darts. I was shooting used darts in the firing demo to replicate the expected performance when using higher darts. It is known that worker dart QC has dropped lately, so some of the weaker shots could also be caused by these. Using fresh or higher QC darts will make this blaster an extremely consistent performer. I do wish the stock bars were slightly longer since they're just a hair short of reaching the length of pull that I'm used to. This is why I got hung up a few times when priming the blaster in the demo, since I can't comfortably prime the blaster off my shoulder with this length of stock. Comparing the buffer tube and PDW stock SBL1s to the SBL2, the SBL2 has the shortest stock of the bunch even when fully extended. I know longer Picatinny stocks do exist and are compatible with the SBL2, but with airsoft and firearm parts heavily regulated here in Australia, it's pretty hard to get my hands on one. Now to answer the question on whether you should buy one or not. If you're looking for a premium pump action springer that'll fit under multiple FPS caps while also having highly customizable aesthetics, this could be the blaster for you. The 4 included springs allow the blaster to fall under most of the common FPS caps in the hobby, allowing the blaster to be usable and competitive in most groups. Being a 3D printed blaster also opens up a range of customization options, ranging from color schemes to shrouds. Gavin even included a 3MF file of the blaster in the files, making it easier for you to visualize your color schemes. The metal and acetal pieces give this blaster an incredibly solid feel for what is a 3D printed blaster. However, this does increase the price tag of the hardware. The hardware alone costs 230 Singapore dollars, not including shipping, which is pretty pricey for a kit that doesn't even include the printed parts. This also doesn't include any B-Car or SCAR for that matter, but if you're looking at a blaster at this price tag, chances are you already have one of those to put on it anyway. For those with the money and the means to print the parts, the SBL2 is a worthwhile investment. Being able to change the FPS with just a simple spring change makes this blaster usable in almost any setting. The blaster's smooth prime and solid feel gives it an extra edge over other 3D printed pump action springers and also justifies the price. For those with an SBL1 looking to upgrade to the SBL2, I think it's worth it if you have enough disposable income lying around. The SBL2 is much more versatile than its predecessor while also being easier to work with and able to hit higher FPS numbers in a smaller package. The SBL1 is still a solid blaster though, so don't be pressured to get the sequel if you don't really want to. For those looking for their first high-performance blaster, I actually don't recommend getting the SBL2 as your entry to the hobby. 230 Singapore dollars is a huge investment into a hobby, and considering it won't even get you a functioning blaster out of the box, I don't think it's worth it for a new player. The Worker Harrier and Seagull are blasters that fall into the same niche as the SBL2, but are complete out of the box for roughly the same price in the former's case, and cheaper in the latter's. These blasters are better investments when entering the hobby in my opinion, as they'll let new players save some money to spend on gear or other blasters. If you really want one though, feel free to disregard my recommendation. At the end of the day, it's your money and you're free to spend it however you want. The Gavinfuzzy B-Car is also a good investment, especially when you pair it with the SBL2. I can't fully comment on how it performs overall though, as I haven't tested it enough on other blasters. It also seems to be one of the cheapest metal B-Cars available, so it's a pretty competitive option for those that are obsessed with metal parts. The SBL2 is currently in beta testing, and from my understanding, ownership of a previous Gavinfuzzy blaster is required to be eligible for the beta units. You should be able to contact Gavin through Facebook or Discord if you meet these requirements. However, while writing the script for this video, Gavin teased that the final release might be coming sooner than expected, so it might be worth waiting a little longer before blowing up his inbox. The metal B-Car is available for purchase on Gavin's Etsy page already, and it comes in a variety of colors. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, press YouTube buttons, and I'll see you next time.